Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the subject and what we can figure out in the subject and what we look for in a subject. Now, first of all, one of the things that we're talking about here is the exposition. The exposition is the first part of the piece. Okay, so we have a few different sections of a fugue. The first big chunk is the exposition. It's like the A section, kind of. You could also think of it like an introductory section. A section is probably a better way to think of it, but we call it the exposition. It's the introducing of materials. Okay, so that's where we encounter the subject for the first time, because the subject is usually the first thing we hear in a piece. There are, of course, exceptions to that, but usually in the fugue, the subject is the first thing we hear, and we usually hear it unaccompanied. Okay, so the first thing we get in a fugue, in most cases, is the subject by itself. So what we look for in a subject is something that has a little bit of a unique rhythm, so that we can really kind of latch onto it. Because remember what we just did. We were able to hear every time that popped up, right? So we often use little scale runs in the subject. We use rhythmic ideas that will help it really kind of stand out. And we also sometimes use arpeggios. That's something you find a lot in a fugue subject, is just spelling out the triad. Because one of the things that the fugue, or that the subject does, is introduce the harmonic language of the piece. So in this subject, in this single line that we get right at the beginning of it, we really kind of need it to establish the key, the mode, and to a lesser extent, some inkling towards the harmony in the piece. So we might see kind of a 1 and a 5 in a subject. We might see something more complicated. This particular one is a bit of a longer subject. The subject could be anywhere from maybe 2 bars up to 6 bars, which is kind of what we have here. We really have 4.5 bars, I think we would call this one. We'll look in detail at this particular subject in just a minute. I just kind of want to get a couple things about the subject out of the way first. So remember what we just talked about with voices. So the subject will be in one voice, and then once we see another subject enter, we know that we're at the end of our subject. So the second entrance of a subject is called the answer. So we're going to talk about answers in just a minute, because there's a few kinds of answers. But sticking with the subject for now, let's see if we can figure out where our subject ends. Let's just hear it one more time. Okay. We could say the subject ends right here, because that's when the answer, which is the next version of the subject, comes in. We could also say the subject ends right here, actually. We could say the subject is nothing but this. That could be the entire subject. I don't think so in this case. I think this is part of the subject. I actually think in this case, this is kind of a weird one. I think in this case, the subject ends right there on that G, the downbeat, beat 3 of that 5th measure. So we have 4.5 measures. I'm going to try to stop it right on that spot, and you'll see what I mean. I got that D in there. But I think from here to here is when we're really setting up the move to 5. We see that E natural there, and that's where this comes in on the 5th OA. So I think these extra notes are a transition to help us get there. I can do this a little more clearly. Let's do this. Let's take that much and let's go over to our master MuseScore file. And let's make sure I'm in the right key here. We're in G minor. Of course, it's the name of the piece. Okay, I guess I got to get myself back to treble clef. And let's get to G minor. And then let's paste that in. Okay, so here's our subject. Oh, what did I do here? I'm in 3/4. I got to get us back to 4/4. Okay, now let's paste in our subject. All right, let's see what we've got. Let's get rid of that too. Oh, and we're going way slower, so let's increase our tempo here. Okay, I think that feels like the end of the subject right there. So that's what we're going to call the subject for now. Okay, now let's analyze this a little bit and let's see what's in this subject, because the subject is more than just a melody by itself. There's a little, in order to make a good subject, which you can imagine this is a Bach subject and he kind of knows what he's doing. So this isn't just a simple melody. There's going to be a little bit more in here. So let's go to a new video and let's do a quick little analysis of just the subject first.